Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I've got Sherry Dalia, and we're going to be talking about what are those subconscious blocks going on that are keeping you from the success you desire in your lives. Welcome to the Balance Code Podcast, a place for high achievers to step outside the hamster wheel of day-to-day life and start learning tools for more balance. I'm your host, Katie Rosslers, and I will be guiding you on this journey of discovering your balance code. Sherry, thank you for being here and taking the time to teach us. Share a little bit about yourself, where you are, who you serve, and what you do.
So thank you so much for having me, Katie. It's really a pleasure to be here today. So a little bit about me. I am a holistic psychotherapist. I've been practicing for over 30 years. I absolutely love what I do more and more, really every day. And I believe that we all disconnect from our essence as children. It's the human condition because no parent can provide 100% security 100% of the time. And we all adapt in various ways. And I believe that everything that happens in the present is provide all of our triggers, our opportunities to help us to reconnect to ourselves. And there's nothing that gives me greater joy than collecting the pieces of myself that I've lost along the way and helping others to do the same along the journey of life here on Earth.
I love the puzzle analogy. I'm like, oh, you're speaking my language. Dear listener, you've got two therapists now in your ear. This is going to get deep. Pencil and pen, paper, get it ready. Here we go. So, Sherry, I love this realization that a lot of our life is just bringing back those pieces that we have because of trauma, because of what your parenting, because of just life have let go of. And if you're listening and you're like, I'm in a phase right now where I feel like I don't know who I am, I'm rediscovering myself, then this is a great conversation for you. Let's discuss what are some of the subconscious patterns and maybe even beliefs that are happening that you notice block the high achiever, the ambitious one who's like going for the goal, but something keeps getting in the way. What is that brick wall we keep hitting? What are you noticing?
So our imprint, everything's about how we took in our childhood, and it influences everything we think, everything we feel, and everything that we do. So part of it can be, it feels unfamiliar to be successful. So perhaps you might have grown up in a childhood where you, everything was very chaotic and nothing went well. So the idea of being successful is like something good, something positive. So it is just so unfamiliar to you. So you have to really find your way to kind of get used to things feeling good. So that's one thing that I find, just like really moving through the pain, the trauma, and the more you can move through that, the more comfortable you can be in life with things just going well for you, energetically, just going well.
Right. And even the survivor's guilt or the guilt of, well, now I'm successful, but my parents worked so hard and they sacrificed everything. And now it's so easy for me. That will feel so uncomfortable that you will create challenges in your world because the drama is just easier. The fight is easier. So you're right. This is one of those, what I knew in my childhood, I will create in my little ecosystem because it's comfortable, even if I have goals and aspirations that I want to achieve. No. In the background, it's like, no, that doesn't feel comfortable. I'd rather be in a comfortable hell than an uncomfortable heaven right now. So just do this.
Yes, because what is familiar is safe, and what's unfamiliar is unsafe. Even if it's hell, like you said.
Right? You know, you're like, actually, I really want to be successful. Let me bring us into a second one, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. I have a feeling it was already on your list. Scarcity. This mindset of there will never be enough time. There will never be enough money. There will never be enough me, right? No energy or resources or help. The scarcity mindset that comes from war-torn generations that fought and worked hard and literally lost everything and had to rebuild. I get it. But that stays in us genetically almost, right? How are you seeing that?
Energetically.
Yeah.
From those generations before. So you can have multi-generational trauma that you're holding on to from another generation or multiple generations before you. So kind of on my list, I kind of wrote it down like kind of fear of leaving people you love behind.
Yeah.
So like we're kind of like in a tribe, our family. So if you move too far ahead of them in your mind, again, this is in your mind. If they are like middle class workers and you want to be a white collar worker, like, oh, my family doesn't do that. Or if let's say connect with your spouse through drinking, let's say, and want to stop drinking or like anything to be more successful in your life, there's going to be a fear. It's like a disconnect because we're all about attachment.
Yeah.
So we want to be attached to our mom, our dad. We want to be attached to our family. So I think that, the idea of thinking that there's not enough, I guess that really wasn't on my list, a little piece of it, that idea. But I do think that idea that like, there's not enough out there for me, that can come from your family, but the world's abundant. There's enough for all of us.
Absolutely. I heard Mel Robbins say, and this speaks to what you were sharing about, like, if I change, I leave people behind. She says, your change doesn't inspire people. It confronts them. And I was like, oh, Mel, you just threw that one out because it's true. If I stop drinking and this is the way I connect with my partner, what do we have? And that partner is going to start to, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing it? I don't understand, because it was our point of connection versus I'm happy you're growing. This is a good thing. You're right. These things play in the background. We're like, I can't change this about myself because I won't have the attachment to that person or that thing or that place that I used to. And it gets scary.
So scary. So scary. So to be successful, you have to take risks, right? So as a child, if something's scary and we don't feel that we have mom or dad to help us through it, we disconnect from ourselves and tuck it away somewhere, those painful feelings. So when we are trying to put ourselves out there and take a risk today to be successful, in our mind, it's like, oh, too scary. Can't do that. It feels like counterintuitive to do that.
Our brains want to, it's like protection. Yes. And like you said, it doesn't even mean that it's a bad thing that we're scared of.
Right.
But the fear just says, nope, and you hide it within yourself.
So what was adaptive is now maladaptive. It's not helping you because our brains get stuck in time. So I can be terrified of something today, but it could be a 5-year-old in me that's stuck, or a 12-year-old or a 19-year-old. And once you move through that, it's easier to put yourself out there. There was a point in time where I probably couldn't talk to you like this, because when I would talk in an interview, my throat would close, my brain would go blank, as you saw at the beginning of the interview, because I get scared because of my stuff. But as I work through it, it's so much easier, for me to just drop in and connect. But I had to do a lot of healing to get here, to feel safe enough to sit here and talk to you today.
Thank you for sharing that. As you were also sharing the example, I thought about those people who maybe were really successful in high school or did great in college, right? And then as soon as they got out, quote, in the real world, they froze. They didn't have that tribe and support network that was raising them up. And then it was like, oh, it's all on me now.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not capable, right? I don't have that. And so they stop. Or I think of the classic story of like, I grew up in the southeast of the United States. And, we occasionally had those people who went off to school in New York City or California. And it was like, oh, look at you. And if they weren't successful, like how they felt or how others judged them. And it was like, oh my gosh, right? Like they had the wherewithal to go, I'm getting out. I want to go and live somewhere new and try something different. Who cares if it works or not? Wow. You faced that fear and that being alone, because you are. So I it speaks to me, that one in particular. I can think of a lot of situations of people I know in my life and clients who hit that place where it's like they got out there and they froze because it's like, oh, I don't have what I had before. It's just me now. And that's scary. And I don't have mom and dad and I don't, whatever. And you're right. They go back to that age where they felt like they were alone. And then it's like, well, I can't do this. Instead of, there's a fear here, like with speaking you experienced. I just need to work through this fear and build up the resilience around it. Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes, like you said, someone could be buoyed by their family. Other times it can feel too hard because, it takes a lot of effort to be successful and reach your goals and your dreams. And if you didn't have support when you were a kid, life was too hard, it was too much. So trying to reach your goals today can feel so hard because you're stuck in time like a kid thinking, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm not going to make it. Oh my gosh. If you let go of what it was like as a child and work through that, the energy of what you're trying to achieve today will not feel as daunting.
Yes. Yes. A lot of people say 80% of it is the mental work and 20% is the actual work. I completely agree with that, because I'm like, most of the time you just get out of your own way. Like, that's all you need.
Exactly. But it's like easier said than done because you have the rational mind, and anyone could do anything. I think for a short period of time, you can white knuckle it, or like, sure, I can go to the gym for 3 months, but then you trail off because you're not dealing with the underlying reasons of why you're trailing off, why you can't stay consistent. And as throughout my healing journey, my triggers get less frequent, last a shorter period of time, and are less intense. And I'm able to maintain where I want to be and on my path as I go. It just keeps going like up, but it's not a straight line.
Right. Right. Dear listener, please never think that progress is a straight line. And if you do, we're here to share with you from our own personal journey. It is not. I like to call it caterpillar, butterfly. Caterpillar,
Yes.
butterfly. Caterpillar,
Yes.
always. It does. There's no, I had a client recently, like, I thought I was in the butterfly phase. And I was like, you were. And then you went back to the caterpillar because that's normal. And she's like, oh, I thought you just stay in butterfly. I was like, no, you can use the onion analogy, right? You peel off one layer, there's another layer, same thing. So, yes.
Yes.
So if somebody's listening and they go, okay, some of the blocks you've mentioned, I have. Like, I'm seeing this is what really is preventing the success I desire from me reaching my goals, from really feeling like I'm really growing into my next level self. What are some steps you could really encourage them to take as that awareness comes? Because even the awareness can be overwhelming, right? Like, how do I face this? My mom was like this, my dad was like this. This is how we are. How do you work with somebody to help them to say, you change this?
So I think developing the awareness and not judging it, being curious, seeking to understand, being neutral. When we beat ourselves up or just noticing kind of what's without judgment. Because the second we start to judge, it narrows our focus. We didn't get to some of the other things that people can prevent themselves from being successful because there's a part of them that doesn't feel they deserve it. There can be, they could long to be taken care of because if they take care of themselves, for example, then they will forego ever being taken care of the way they want it to. So I list the different ways, other ways that people might have adapted. So just noticing, seeing how they play out in the different areas of your life, how they play out and how you take your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your spouse, your parents, your children, your work, your environment, just in all different ways. And just notice like a little detective, like, oh, I noticed that I procrastinate, with everything they do. What's that about? That person might be like, oh, they're looking for someone else to do it for them. So, like, really just looking for the patterns. And then after you notice the patterns, say, okay, what's one little step that I could take today to break that pattern? And sometimes you can build on those things. But like I was saying, if the wounds are too intense, you have to do deeper healing. There's just no way out of that unless, because our hearts need to be in alignment. So you could want something so bad, but if you're wounded, you're not going to get there. So it's about nurturing, doing like inner child work. I have a course, it's called Discover Your Roadmap to Healing. And it speaks to my philosophy and about how everything's an opportunity and all of these healing modalities to really help you integrate and heal and understand how you specifically took in your environment. So just being willing to work, because there's really nothing, and to trust that things come up for healing when you're ready. It is scary, but they come up when you're ready. So you can reach your dreams. You just have to be willing to look back so that you can move forward.
Yes. Love the analogy of the detective. I think that's a really, it feels less scary and it feels a little more playful and curious. Like, I'm being my own detective and figure this out. And it allows you to go into looking at your life from a different perspective versus I feel everything, I'm hurt all the time. It's like, oh, why do I do that way? And I love that you mentioned procrastination. Sometimes it's our desire for someone else to do it for us, be taken care of. Like, that makes total sense.
Yeah. And to me, there's no better subject to learn about than the subject of oneself. And think about any subject you learn about, you feel more confident, you feel more secure, right? In that subject matter, no matter what it is you're learning about. So what better subject to learn about than yourself? The more you know, the more you understand yourself, the more confident, the more secure you are, and the more successful you can be at anything in life, because you're the one taking you through. But if you don't understand how you operate,
nope, not going to.
Yeah, it's trying to get, I'm in Connecticut. So it's trying to get from Connecticut to, let's say, California without a GPS. Like, I'm going to be completely lost. Or trying to learn, algebra without understanding the fundamental principles of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.
Yep. Yes. When someone decides, okay, I see blocks and I know I can't navigate them myself, what are some tips you can give to someone to find the right person for them, to support them on that journey?
So I think when you call a therapist, to really ask them what their philosophy is and to see if it is in alignment with you. If you feel, because no matter what, I think the journey of healing and self-discovery, it's about finding someone that's going to help you to get at the root of the problem. Because our natural state is wellness. So for me, it's like, is this person going to help me get to the root, if that's what you desire? And someone that is not here to judge you. That's someone that's going to be empathetic, nurturing, supportive, kind of shine the light while you do the digging, because no one really knows you better than you know yourself. And someone that is going to help you to feel safe you know, doing the work, and not afraid and not going to tell you. Because when someone tells you, I think, like 1+1 = 2 versus you have one here and you have one here. It's like the idea is to develop confidence and security in yourself, not to become codependent on the therapist for the answers. So someone that they think would be open, supportive, empathetic, and just help them on their path to find themselves and not think that they have all the answers for them, that they're kind of like on equal footing.
Yeah. I love that you point out that piece of, our job as therapists is to work ourselves out of the job. So if you're not being empowered to learn how to use these tools regularly on your own and discover for yourself, that's probably not the right fit. So I love that you put that up. Sherry, thank you so, so much for what you've shared and the examples and the analogies. Again, you just speak to my heart because I'm like, we could speak forever. But I know that I try to keep these interviews bite-sized for people in transportation or making their dinner or lunch or whatever, so you can listen to it and get what you need to. Sherry, thank you so much for today and for sharing everything.
Thank you so much, Katie. This has been great.
And dear listener, here's to finding our balance code. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Take a moment to leave a rating and a review on your favorite podcast platform. That helps other listeners just like you to find this podcast too. Want to connect and learn how we can work together? Check out the links in the show notes below. Discovering your balance code doesn't have to be a one-person journey. You can have a team, and I'd love to support you. So here's to finding our balance code.